Good afternoon. I was trying to go to the chat and keep running that song, but I guess apparently now is the time to go. It's go time. It's go time. Because I like the trolls, man. I like the trolls. Right? We love Justin Timberlake. We love the trolls 2016. JT Can't Stop the Feeling. DreamWorks, written for trolls. Anna Kendrick also in the movie. She plays Poppy. Anna Kendrick, local girl here in the Philadelphia area. So anytime we get a chance to put out a little shout out for our local representation on the national stage, we like to do that. It is a Friday, finally Friday, and of course, every Friday that's been around now this year for some reason, usually it's like that's like the wind down, right? We shut it down a minute, take a little break, relax. For some reason, these first couple Fridays of the year have been really, really busy. Just really busy. I'm busy with work, busy with home stuff, busy with kids, practices, running all over the place, people being sick, travel. Um, kind of looking forward to the summertime. Hopefully, schedules will begin to even out and be able to take some more advantage of availability and be able to do things I got a call earlier in the day about filling in for some people later on today and some other avenues. But man, it's so jam packed. Even today, like getting into here was really running and juggling um, the schedule to make sure everything fit for Pouring Perspective with me, the Dunkin Dad. Um, Today we're talking about priorities, and that's way, way, way too much to unload in one particular conversation. So we're just going to try to break it down into one little avenue, how it applies to us, just on, I guess, our little individual level, right? We talked about availability in our last conversation and how we need to be available to ourselves. We have to give ourselves the permission to encounter and do the things in our daily life that make us available to ourselves. Meditate, check in, have an extra cup of coffee, put on your music, get into your headspace for a second, because you do need to get in your headspace for a second, right? You can't just exist in this cosmos where anything and everything, all of these little extra avenues that you have to cover, right? So when we talk about priorities, there's obviously the priorities we have to ourself, right? And that is so, can be so simple and so complex because everybody is so individually subjective to how they apply priorities in their lives. Some individuals, they don't need a lot of sleep, right? I'm one of those people. I'm one of those guys that I love sleep, cherish sleep. I think it's wonderful. I'd like it to be as uninterrupted as possible. But there's other priorities in my life that dictate the fact that it's not going to be uninterrupted. Priorities that we have being subjective to who we are, what we need, what we don't need, what will justify, what we won't justify. So my priority for sleep may be a lot less on a totem pole than someone else. I had a friend, she has to have 8.5 plus hours of sleep. 9 is like perfect. Got this whole routine. Starts about 8 o'clock the night before. It's like a priority, like gotta do all that face, makeup, cleaning up things, decompression time. And it's like an hour routine to get into this space, right? And once this is done, and once they're in this space, once they prioritize for themselves that this is how I need my rest to go, they can drift off into dreamland and get their sleep. However, if anything affects that process, her priority is all out of whack. Snowballs into the next, snowballs into that sleep for the evening, it snowballs into how they will then go about the process of taking part in their next priority or responsibility, and then what they need to move in order to catch up and replace and restructure, reset their priorities. But everybody's like, oh man, I really want to stay in shape. I really want to go work out. That's cool. Got a plan all set. Bought the clothes, bought the sneakers, got the gym membership, lined up, ready to go. You get there, boom, gym's closed for some reason. Flat tire, traffic, completely out of whack. So when you have these priorities in our lives, these responsibilities where we assign specific value and specific expectation from the other side, we put ourselves in a position where we need to be fully aware of every possible outcome that exists, every possible interaction that exists, every possible response that exists, so then we can respond and adjust our priorities. You know, people unknowingly will be their own worst enemy in so much as they'll say, well, I have to do this, this, and this. And nothing else can interfere with that. And they'll go to the ends of the earth in order to meet this deadline or meet this goal. McConaughey in his Oscar speech, he said, I'm never going to be my best self, and I'm always going to chase that person. And hopefully, in doing so in that chase, paraphrasing as I am, you are achieving this level of self understanding, this being available to yourself, byproduct being available to others, availability to others, prioritizing not only yourself, but then people, places, things, entities in your life, what's healthy, what's not healthy, what rejuvenates you, what takes away your energy, what you're willing to compromise, what you're willing to undertake, because it may meet another priority, another goal, another responsibility. There's a lot of people that put themselves through what the outside world and outside people in their own environment, neighborhood, community think it's just outrageous. Why are you up every day at 5 in the morning, going to the gym, to run back to your house, to pick up your kids, to get dressed, to get them off to school, to go work for 8 hours, to pick them up again, to come back, to take them to practice? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? This is person's priority, right? The priority is my general well-being, my mental health. And yeah, at the end of the day, I'd like to take advantage of that. I'd like to be able to go to the gym at this time. I'd like to decompress at this time. I'd like to turn it off at this time. But because of my other priorities that I've brought into my own life, because of other responsibilities in my life, I need to prioritize. So I might not be getting the maximum effect out of this particular discipline or this particular action, but it is meeting my responsibilities and my goals, my aspirations on the other side. One thing that we always come to find out after we have discussions with ourselves, with other people, that everyone approaches their day specific unto them. What I mean is that you can all have the same plan to tackle your day. There can be the greatest workout plan in the world, the greatest food plan in the world, the greatest preparation time for you to sit down and do a podcast. Some people flip open the screen, log in, boom, sit down and start talking. Other people spend hours preparing. Other people spend days preparing. Do you see it in the finished product? Maybe. Maybe not. Again, it's how an individual interprets the situation, how they prioritize this in their life. And obviously, anytime that we give attention to something, anytime we prioritize something, we put in effort. There has to be an effort, right? And then we break that down. Well, how much effort am I going to give? I want to go all in, but man, there's happy hour on Thursday night. I could really, really want to get there and be with my friends. Okay. Priority. You need some socialization. Deficiency. This end result back here, this project, this goal is not going to get a full amount of attention. Again, mental thought. Are you okay with that? Is your boss okay with that? Is your partner okay with that? Are your children okay with that? Are your acquaintances okay with that? Are your subscribers okay with that? Man, Duncan had a really crappy show. Wonder what was going on. Hmm. Man, that show was amazing. So far, you dialed in all week. Oh, it was great. Okay. All right. The experiment or the understanding that we have is everyone approaching it from their own angle, at their own time, in their own way to get to this goal. Now, obviously, we like to have rules. We like to have SOPs, standard operating procedures. We like to have a formula. We like to have um, a recipe. We like to lean on other individuals who may have been through some adversity in their life, who maybe share some of the same responsibilities as us, who can teach us how to model and mold ourselves and prioritize some things that have worked for them. But then again, it is all subjective to the individual. Every solution does not work for every single person. You may yield a very good result. You may yield a good response. Example, my priority is to be better to myself and be healthier. Okay, so number one, I watch what I'm eating, I change my diet. Number two, I become more physically active than I have been. Number three, I balance that with the proper amount of sleep and stretching and the mental preparedness that I'm going to get into a routine and into a discipline, into a habit. I'm going to prioritize this particular area and I begin to see changes. Okay, well, now you see changes in your body. Now you see changes in your daily energy. Now you see changes in your personal appearance. However, because you've prioritized this particular area in life, you've now, by no doing of your own, but as a byproduct again of what you're trying to accomplish, you have now taken other individuals who may have been a priority in your life, other relationships that may have been a priority in your life, productivity in your life, and other aspects. Those things may begin to show deficiencies. Why? Hey, well, you're always the guy who could pick up the phone at 10 o'clock and I would call, and you're always going to be there. Even if it was something very, very mundane, wasn't pressing. Yo, did you just see that shot that JoJo took last night? Oh, it was amazing. They won the game. I've shifted my priorities, so now I'm not that guy, that girl that you can call at 10:30 at night and just come off with some commentary about a game. Now, if you're calling me because something is super duper wrong or there's an emergency, something tragic has happened, obviously, I'm going to engage. But these little things, we begin to sit there and say to ourselves, you know what? I don't know if I need all of this right now. Your action is now affecting how someone else looks at things, how someone else prioritizes. Now, you know what? I used to call Duncan all the time. I used to tell him about what was going on in sports, but he's been busy. He's running all around. He's traveling. He's at the Super Bowl. He's hanging out with celebrities. He's hanging out with Tony Bruno. He's, taking care of his family. He's going to Florida. There's a lot of moving parts. He's really committed to, some of the other things that are going on right now. His priorities have shifted. So you know what? Yeah. Instead of calling him, I'm going to call so-and-so. And that's not any pat on the back. There's just examples that I use for like people's lives change and it can happen really quickly. And we as an individual, again, being available to ourselves, like we talked about on Wednesday, need to be secure and aware of mechanisms that we're going to use internally when we need to respond to something. Specifically, when we need to respond to a lacking in these very, very meaningful areas of our life, right? Oh, he's not calling anymore. She's not calling anymore. I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's happening. Well, they've been busy. You've been busy. Their priorities have shifted. Something has come up in their life. You've talked. You've justified things. You've compromised, and now you find yourself wondering, well, where did they go? What happened? I don't know why my spouse isn't talking to me. I don't know why my boss hates me. I don't know why my coworkers think, I'm amazing. We lose touch with the reality sometimes. We lose touch with the day to day when we hyper focus on all of these priorities in our lives without a clear understanding. And I'm not sitting here, you need to sit down and look through every single decision of your life and how it affects someone. Because I'm the person that says at the end of the day, you know, you got to pay for the clothes on your back, the roof over your head, the food on your table, and meet your responsibilities, i.e., towards your career, towards your family, towards your children, towards anyone else you choose to have an intimate relationship with. However, in the same breath, those relationships, those priorities, the personal availability to ourselves and availability to other people, those are the things that constitute life, like real life. Right? At some point, there's always going to be some kind of job or some kind of position or some kind of means that you need to either perform, reach, achieve, pay for, whatever it is, in order to meet whatever it is in order for you to be sustained. Right? And that goes back to, again, reflecting again. This is a constantly evolving conversation that we're having with one another. And we say these things to remind other individuals who haven't been a part of the conversation that we've talked about this. And if you want to check it out, or in perspective, no filter, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can go to the vault, you can check it out, or you can go to Spotify, you can go to YouTube, bring it up, look at it. Everything is out there to put this big conversation together. It's like a composium, and a conversation that's just carried on now for over a year and a half, trying to figure out who and how we are as individuals to ourselves, to others, to the spiritual beings that we choose to align ourselves with, or Mother Universe, or Mother Earth, or whomever and whatever it is that grounds you, that is bigger than yourself, that is bigger than an entity or anyone else that you choose to be involved with. There's always something bigger, right? And the bigger thing here is that at the end of our days, we can have many, many financial accomplishments. We can have many materialistic accomplishments. But the end goal is, in all actuality, were we a good steward to ourselves and others while we were here? And did we leave this place better than we found it? Right? There is something to taking an active role in life. You are going to remember your interpersonal relationships and how you felt about something more than an accumulated number of things. Sure, there's a priority. They fall on the scale. It's on the target. It tends to make things in this life easier to navigate. We're not going to be naive about that. How you choose to use and allocate these resources, therein lies the action, right? Therein lies uh, the real meat and potatoes, right? To get really basic, the meat and potatoes. You could have $1 million and you could blow it quick. You could have $1 billion. You could probably blow that quick too. Being in those positions, however, affords you a little more insulation from some of the daily, sustainable day to day priorities of, let's say, someone living in a really bad area, right? You're not worried about where your food's coming from. You're not worried about security around your house. You're not worried about your kids, walking down the street. You're not worried about someone stealing something from you. So my priorities, my survival instincts, those areas in my life that I need to put emphasis on, drastically different. That's why we have a lot of disconnect in this world, right? We have a lot of disconnect in this world because there's so many people who are legitimately just surviving and going through the motions, hoping to make it to the next day, hoping to make it to that next instance where they can have what? A close interpersonal engagement with either a group of people, with someone individually, because that really is what sustains them, right? Like one of the biggest days growing up in the small little town was everybody went to church. Everybody worked, up, 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 up. Not a whole lot going on, but man, couldn't wait to get to church. Couldn't wait to get to church on Sunday. Who was going to have snacks? Who was going to have coffee? Who was going to breakfast afterwards? Who was going to hang out? Who was going to play? And then boom, right back to just getting through, getting by day. So the priority was let's get everything done. Let's get it all out of the way. So everything is all set for Sunday. So everything's clear the tables. Boom, Sunday's coming. And that was the focus. That was the priority for a lot of people. On the flip side, you have people who prioritize other areas. This ain't a religion thing. That was just one example, right? The A good example in like the sports world, right? Look at someone like Ben Simmons. I'm gonna throw Ben under the bus a second because of his mental health issues. We'll take that for what it's worth. Grain of salt. You know my commentary on manipulating the mental health. eh, I don't know when you manipulate the mental health platform, and there's no way you can tell me he didn't. But and again, I'm not inside of his head. I'm not his doctor. I'm not a trained physician. I play one on TV. Um, in a very real sense, Kyler Murray as well. If you wanted to be better at your craft, wholeheartedly want to be better at your craft, wholeheartedly wanted to be a better person, wholeheartedly wanted to get in shape, wholeheartedly wanted to be a better partner, whatever area, you would have to take tangible steps in your life in order to do that. And those steps then would be followed by consistent, repetitive action and discipline that turned into a habit, that turned into a way of life. That would be making something a priority, right? You place value on this because it was making you better, is making the offshoot of what you're doing beneficial to other people around you, your job, relationship. But in these instances, you see individuals like Ben, like Kyler Murray, who are saying, you know what, not really going to get in the gym and shoot a whole lot anymore. Just how I am. I'm totally chill with it. I'm cool. I've gotten this far in my career. Murray, I'm not really going to sit in the film room. You can even make it a contractual obligation. It's not really a priority for me. I'd rather go, watch Call of Duty, play the game when the map drops. How then are we as outside people, and you break this down into the house metaphor that I always use, how then are we supposed to interpret and engage with these individuals or with these businesses? Well, you're not prioritizing your employees, man. You're making them work 10, 15 hours overtime. You're making them take off the extra time during the week that would offset so nothing else comes out of your pocket. They're working with antiquated equipment. You're never available when they need to, right? There's certain deficiencies. Business isn't prioritizing the employees, they're not prioritizing their equipment. That all trickles down. The, the trick with all of this has always been finding the healthy balance in our life, finding what we need to treat as being more important than other avenues. What are we placing precedence on before other things? What are we going to give our our considerations to above others? And in doing so, how are we really affecting our bottom line, our day to day, the residual effect on other individuals, other ventures? That's going to be met by them, which is so difficult to grasp and to understand. We talked about availability, right? And I always said, like, you could be available all the time. All the time you can be available. Always there, go-to person, never miss. And then the minute that you want to be available to yourself and give yourself some time to be in your own space, you see very quickly why other individuals or other people liked you or kept you around or kept you engaged in their life. You were there. Oh yeah, you were there. Now the minute you're not there, first I'm like, well, where were you? What's going on? What's happening? Is everything okay? But it's a falsely laden inquiry because they want to know, when are you going to come back to me? When are you going to be my attention? When are you going to be what I need? My priority is that I need someone in my life to pay attention to me, X, Y, and Z. I need an employee who shows up every single day, X, Y, Z. I need a an intimate partner that's always available when my needs are there. If you're not that person, you're not going to be there. Man, like, it's in my world, boom, priority, priority, priority. I need to go and get this. Duncan's no longer available. He wasn't available today. He wasn't available 2 days ago. I'm moving on. How quickly we can become less of a priority for people. And so many times it happens with those who are extremely, extremely close to us, or who we perceive to be extremely close to us. Some of it's just mechanisms, right? Fight or flight. People are survivors. People, next man up. But when you've invested in something, when you've invested in a relationship, when you've invested in yourself, when you've invested in being the best version of yourself that you can be, you prioritize your own personal habits, your own personal disciplines, your own personal uh, financial spending. You discipline, you prioritize what are the needs, not the wants. What are the needs, the bottom line necessities that you have to have in your life in order to survive? That attached to someone else. And if it is attached to someone else, and we do this so many times in our relationships, and it's not a bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. If you are attaching that to someone else, then you need to know 100% sure that you are just as much of a priority in their life as you are making them part of yours. Circling back, Jen Psaki, if we are not prioritizing ourselves, we're not available to ourselves, if we are not doing things that make us the best version of ourselves, then there's really no way that we can actually prioritize another individual to the level that they, one, deserve, and two, that is expected. If I'm not available to myself to figure out what's going on with myself and understand why I react, why I think of an issue a particular way, why I'm open minded, why I'm closed minded, why I'm very fixated on this particular conviction and it will not change. Not having an understanding of yourself through being available to yourself will lead you to falsely prioritize situations, people, places, and things that are completely, whether you want to hear it or not, one sided. You may be under the guise that you are being totally giving, totally available, giving you all of my priority and all of my attention. But when in reality, you want someone to need you. You want someone to be able to take advantage of your skill set. You want someone to be there for your uh, private, intimate engagement. Talk to me, listen to me, be close to me, be my plus one. But when that person or that place or that thing or that entity isn't of value anymore, or they're not showing their value in that particular moment, they're no longer a priority for you. Right? What they are doing no longer resonates with you in this particular instance, so you're quickly to just dismiss it. I used to call it like friend hopping, right? Oh, most popular person in the world. She's friends with everybody. Yeah, she's friends with everybody. This week she's friends with the guys that can get her in the club. Next week she's friends with the guys who can get her into the movie theater. Next week she's friends with the girls who can get her into the tanning salon. And people go about that life constantly reprioritizing their needs, their wants, and desires on a very superficial level. And it leads to, as Brian Wagner pointed out in the chat the other day, excuse me, as John David, these false relationships. And the very first false relationship that we have is with ourselves. We all think we're doing the right thing. We all have this understanding that, well, we're in the right place. Everything's cool with me. Not my problem, man. It's the way that they're dealing with it. I mean, come on. Really? My things are fine. You may be fine. You may be at a position in life where you are able to pick and choose some of these things that you want to align yourself with. And if that's the case, there's even more of a responsibility on you to really be whole and true to what it is you're prioritizing in your life. When you have a clear understanding of what's important and what's not important, you will almost instantaneously have a level of personal success. Things will make you happier. You'll be more comfortable. You'll be less burdened by what people think or people say. You've developed this personalized blueprint that works for you. We can all get there. We can all figure this out to some degree. It's when we step outside of that plan or the instruction manual, we have to really understand that, like, Parker said, like, with great power comes great responsibility. With great relationships comes great responsibility. With great careers comes great responsibility. We can't just sit idle and not do anything and be a lump on the log and not contribute. Then we're leaving this place exactly how we found it. But when we cross over the threshold of acquaintance, when we cross over the threshold of, yeah, it's kind of be a cool place to work for, or we cross over the threshold of actually sitting down and involving yourself in any venture, you are making a commitment, and your priorities need to reflect that. And if they don't reflect that, then any of the byproduct that comes along in the form of that guy's just, he's really cool, but he's selfish. He's really cool, but he's always fixated on work. Oh, he's really cool, but dot dot dot. Yeah, it's true. And if you're cool with that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, they're not paying my bills, doing my thing. I really don't want to get into that relationship with her, so I'm just, we're gonna have fun in the next week, the next one, blah 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 blah. You never know where anybody else is coming from unless you open yourself up to that conversation. Hear the conversation, listen to the conversation, process the conversation, accept the conversation, run it through your little system, and then respond. But you're going to respond based on the construct of your priorities, health, finances, work life social balance, self improvement, fitness, family dynamic if it's there, relationship dynamic if it's there, fixing and being this best version of yourself. We compromise a lot. We, in many instances and in many avenues that include our priorities, we augment the things that are essential and very important to us. I'm not shooting down relationships. I'm not shooting down businesses. I'm not shooting down any of that. I'm not saying don't date. I'm not saying don't ever be involved in anything. What I'm saying is that you should be secure enough in yourself and what you need in order to be happy and in order to survive, in order to be a productive component to society and leave things better than you found it, without any of these outside stimuli, people, places, and things. People will say, "Oh, my whole life, all I wanted to do was uh, be a professional athlete, live, breathe, drink, da 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 da." Cool, it's awesome. You succeeded, but anytime that there's a hiccup, it's like what happens after that goes away. When your priority has to shift by no doing of your own, just because of longevity, because of father time, because of injury, because of whatever circumstance may exist. Knowing and really knowing what makes you tick, where you get real joy, real pleasure, real excitement, real happiness from, goes so much further than constantly reaching for something in order to fit these priorities in your life. Consistency, consistency. You have tons of fad diets. You lose all the weight you want. Yeah, just be consistent, man. Be consistent. Right? Show up. Be consistent. Be available to yourself. And you're going to find yourself in an arena, place, thing with someone else who is aligned the same way that you are. And then you may actually have a real friendship, a real acquaintance that develops into something else. And it's not that, oh, you can't have friendships any other way, or you can't experience life in other avenues. It's just that when you put things into perspective, and we're really focusing on personal priorities and the priorities of other people. If you are going to be invested in that, then there really is an onus on being as close as you can, being on the same page, sharing and understanding what drives me, what drives them, what drives the business, what drives this company, this goal. And are we all going to prioritize doing the best thing for all parties involved to move this forward? And am I going to be okay in particular situations where I need a lot of attention, but I'm not getting attention. But the overall picture, it's going pretty well. Am I able to adjust some of my own personal priorities, the way that I see things, react to things, interpret things? But you need to know yourself for that. You need to know this takes precedence in my life. Above all else, I need to be good to myself. I need to be healthy. I need to be as uh, disciplined in my behaviors that I can. Not saying you can't have fun. Not saying that you cannot enjoy the spontaneousness that's life. But having a guidebook, a recipe to go back to that works for you is a good thing. We all should have that little touchstone. Funny thing is, over time, as you have experiences, and if you're available to yourself, and you're thinking, and you're learning, and you're growing, the recipe changes. The instruction book changes. I always joke, I used to love running like pickup basketball. That was cool. It was like middle of the road. I could hang. I wasn't playing like, college or professional ball, but I'd run the scout team, stuff like that. I'd love to go out there and do that. But my recipe says, like, dude, you're not 18, you're not 20, you're not 30 years old. There's a lot of things that come along with doing that. Icy hot, ice baths, saunas. um, it's it's one of those things where you have to adjust. So my priorities, man, I love to get out there, love to run around, love to sweat, love to, you know, get rid of all of this like tension or energy or frustrations or whatever. Well, times change, circumstances change. So I need to adjust. I need to pivot. Raw shout out to friendships, but I hate friends. Not that I don't hate friends, I just don't. I don't know. Complete sidebar here, right? Like I get the whole idea of friends, but when you're there's like two schools of thoughts with friends, right? This is popular amongst people my age. When Friends was first broadcast, huge hit. Seinfeld's over here too. Um, w- you either watched Friends and loved it because you were doing a lot of the similar things, or you didn't watch Friends because that's exactly what you were doing. You were having these relationships with close people close to you. You were living in an apartment. You were having coffee at the coffee shop. You were working uh, different jobs. You were trying to finish it. Like I lived, like I didn't need to watch Friends. I lived Friends, right? I mean, there was I can rattle off like four or five little cafes that were like the Central Park. I can rattle off like four or five vendors who were like the soup Nazi guy. Oh, like funny happenstance things, little travel, spontaneous, ventures or whatever. Oh my God, they didn't know that they were hooking up, and like we lived it. I need to sit down and watch it on TV. Didn't resonate with me. But hey, Friends people, awesome. But again, getting back to Ross, this thing with the couch, again, moving furniture in crazy ass places, like pivot, pivot, pivot. I remember taking three couches, like two times that size, through the back door of this townhome. It was like a back the truck up onto the grass, had to carry through the back part of the yard, had to open up the little fence, had to come up the back little patio, had to go in through the back door, then had snake. Like we've done it all. Sorry, been there, done that. But you have to pivot. You have to see like what's working back here, what's working right now doesn't work at this particular point. And what I used to think is a priority and it defined me, and that's our problem is our priorities. We let our priorities define us. I'm a family man. I'm just a young professional. Okay, cool. That's awesome. But if that is all that you are, then it's all that you will ever be. There's nobility in it? Yes. Is there adulation in it? Yes. However, now you're not the young company guy. Now you're not the young family guy. Now you're not this 20-some-year-old co-ed bachelorette, right? Again, not saying that you can't live and do those things, but if we step back, right? y- Come on, you want to be 40? You want to go hang out all night, dude? Awesome, enjoy it, live it up. Seriously, live it up. If you can do it, live it up. But I'm guessing at this point in your life, you've had a couple of relationships, you're still working, you're probably getting close to that 20-year mark in like relationships if you're still with the same person. The dynamic has changed. In our heads, however, there's certain things that we never let go of being a priority. That's why it's so critically important that when you are beginning out on this adventure called life, or you come back into this where you're doing a little more introspective thinking, that the priorities that you establish for yourself remain healthy and flexible, with an expectation that they may or may not always be met, and that is okay. And that you can still find some happiness and joy within them. There's certain things that they should be priority. Your health and general well-being should be a priority to you. It really, really should. You can. It's the same. It's the adage like with the diets and shit like that. You can eat anything you want. Just eat it in moderation. That's true. True. What we have an issue with ourselves is that, man, we got these pleasures, we got these little things. It's so good. Oh, I'm gonna keep on. I'm just gonna have a little bit today, a little today, a little bit. Well, next thing you know, you get to the end of the week and you've eaten like 2 pizzas, 30 wings, 2 cheeseburgers, 5 Dunkin sandwiches in the morning, 7 Starbucks coffees. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you how to eat, but you know, we should probably pay a little more mind to the things that we're doing to ourselves. Your body's a car, it's an engine. It's only going to run as well on the things that you put inside of it. Again, priorities different. In your 20s, dude, you could eat, and smash, do whatever you want to do all the time. As you get older, those things change. Body changes. That's cool. Reprioritize. But be good to yourself. Do the things that work for you, knowing that the things that work for you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago might not work now. And if you're just starting out, be aware of these things. Do the things now that you enjoy. Do the things now that are going to set these good precedents and these good memories for you. We should always try to educate ourselves. We don't have to go to college in order to educate ourselves. But a priority should be knowing, one, who you are, who you really are, how your environment has helped shape you, good and bad. And once you have a general understanding, I would like to say solid understanding of that, and that falls under the tree of all the interpretations and meditations and how you respond and how you reply and what you do if crisis happens and tragedy. Da, da, da. Like there's a lot to unpack there. But then beginning to understand and being open to understanding other people, right? Can't understand someone else until you understand yourself. There's a lot that happens in your daily life, changes, things evolve. That's okay. Priority shifts. So when we sit here and we make our list of priorities, we miss our day-to-day stuff. My priorities: I'm getting up at 5 a.m., I'm working out, having my little coffee, getting dressed, tackling the day, power lunch, finish my day, get my afternoon in, hang out with my friends. Boom, repeat. People prioritize certain days. Do this, do that, do that, do that. We need to be aware of what it is that keeps us going, keeps us sane. What are some of the tools that we need in our lives in order to offset some of this craziness that is life? And if it needs to be conditioned, if it needs to be strengthened, needs to be adjusted, that we're aware of ourselves enough to go ahead and do that and to make that change. Being available to yourself starts there. Got to be available to yourself. Available to so many other people, so many other things, so many other commitments. Cool. Don't forget to take time for yourself. Prioritize yourself so that when you do choose to prioritize others and other ventures and other commitments, you are in the position to then perform at your best, be receptive to what is being set before you, and because you have a solid foundation, you can then decide if you want to continue to, if possible, invest your time, your energy, and worth into whatever it is. And you're really, really, really hoping that because you've made all of this investment, because you have made whatever it is or whomever it is a priority, they will do the same for you. One of the hardest things we have to learn in this life is that sometimes we think we are priorities to certain people, certain individuals, certain things, and you're not. Sorry to have the tough TED talk with you, but the only way you're going to know that is if you actually go to those people, places, things, or entities and speak up. You have to be able to ask tough questions sometimes, man. You have to be able to want to hear the answer that you may not want to hear. And that's fine. It happens all the time. All right, everybody. Availability to yourself. Priorities. Get them squared away. Get them straight. I'll see you on later tonight. Into the Nightcap is no longer. It has run its wonderful, wonderful course. We were so happy the way that programming went, but in a new, amazing trajectory of just coming off of everything the last 2 weeks. Play Action Reel, Penguin AZ, myself, some crazy, amazing guests coming through. Lots of really good conversation on a Friday night as we head on out. Hopefully, Tony Bruno show will be one. If he's not, 9:15, The Last Call, presented by Bleacher Brothers. We'll be there. Be square. Be sure to check out all the other Bleacher Brother programs on the No Filter Network. We have Play Action Reel, Stephen Luker doing retro ads, retro TV shows. Luker's also started up something, I think he was trying to do like a sim baseball league. Joe Q, the Philly Guy Speaks, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday, Bleacher Brother Midweek Sports Report. Myself, AJ Martinez, Luch, AJ Johnson, Nick Martinez. AJ Johnson, Nick Martinez, Luch, myself, of course, Daily Hustle, Eric Burns, DJ Experience, rocking around as well. Mark Smith on Friday afternoon should be coming up any minute. All right, guys, have a good afternoon. I will see you later tonight.